Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Schlueter with today's Tom's Take. First off, I want to make a correction, maybe not so much a correction, but a clarification, obviously, of yesterday's Tom's Take. I was quoting from Isaiah 33:22 and saying how that which has established the very principle of our constitutional republic with the development of the three branches of government also matches up, according to what the Lord revealed to me, the same structure for the ecclesia. But I was getting the names mixed up. Let me just read it and get that straightened out first, and then go on to what is on the Lord's on my heart from the Lord this morning. First off, from Isaiah 33:22, and I'll read from the Passion Translation. The Lord Yahweh is our judge, our lawgiver, and our King. He will save us completely. And I mentioned yesterday that the Lord had been dropping that into my spirit and simply saying, yes, that was the formation that the founders used out of the revelation of my word to create the three branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. But I am government. Therefore, these three branches also represent what my desire and design is for the ecclesia: to be executive, legislative, and judicial. Just as a president signs executive orders, the ecclesia, we as sons and daughters co-seated with Christ, can make decrees and declarations and executive orders. That's what we've been talking about all this time with tribunals. But we're also lawgivers. We don't necessarily make up the law, but we make sure that the law is abided by. That is part of what legislation does. We form those things which put law into a better understanding and a better way of being released into the very nature of what we live in the world that we live in. So we are also legislators, and we are also judges. God has established that we are judges. Therefore, we make judicial decrees. Judicial decrees, legislative decrees, and executive decrees. Wow. Isaiah 33:22. Meditate on that one for a while. But I shared that again yesterday morning with our war room. Just to remind you, the war room has been meeting now for probably 15, 20 years. It meets every Wednesday morning in my office, which we classify as the war room. If you were in my office, I could take a full tour of my walls, which are depicting many battles that are significant in our American history, but also decreeing God's purpose over us as a nation, as He wants us to win the victory that He has already established for us. So we were in war room. And once again, the Lord took us into the season of understanding and decreeing the purpose of vaving the land. It was a powerful time when the intercessors, the warriors in that room, many of them like JL, because most of them are women except for a couple of us, powerful times of decrees and declarations, spoken and legislated, judged, and given as orders from the throne of God. In the midst of the war room, the Lord dropped a revelation into my spirit. Kind of caught me off guard until I realized, oh my goodness, this is God's Vav. You see, you need to remember that Vav, the letter that represents the number 6 in the Hebrew language, is like a stake, or like a hook, like a spear, like a sword, like a nail, something that you use to peg something down, stake something down. But it's also like a connector of things. For instance, a connector of heaven and earth, a connector of peoples, a connector, that which says This needs to be connected to that, and a vav causes that to take place. Robert Heidler, in one of his teachings last week, prior to the gathering there at Glory of Zion, said, if I recall this right, that the letter vav, many times in the Hebrew, is that in-between word, almost like we would use the word and, a conjunction, because it ties two thoughts together. It says this goes with that, and that's what vaving is all about. Well, what about God's vav? He showed me an image in my spirit of the pillar of fire or the pillar of cloud that came down upon the people of Israel in the wilderness and established itself over the tabernacle. Let me read about it. Exodus 13, verses 20 and 22 from the New King James Version. So they took their journey from Succoth and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people. Now let me remind you that the Lord made it very clear that they were to move only when He moved. That is the very premise of understanding the ecclesia right now in the renewing and the awakening that is taking place in our nation. Don't move ahead of God. Move only when He moves. Listen carefully for His revelations, for His insights, for His strategies. Remember, I shared that yesterday. You say yes. You be obedient to what He tells us to do, what He tells you to do, and then He leads you into that place. And He leads you with His presence. Maybe a cloud or a pillar of fire. And then He made it very clear, just as He says, don't move unless I move. They were told in the wilderness, if it's time to move, I will lift the pillar of fire or the pillar of cloud and move it. And you will pack everything up and follow where I move. And when I set that back down, that's where you will stay until I move you again. Wow. Talking about a vav. That's God's vav from heaven. He says, look what I will do. I will guide you. I will strengthen you. I will fill you with my presence. I will reveal myself to you. I will give all that you need. Just follow me. I have vaved you. Now, before I go back and look at a couple of words here, let's just carry that theme maybe to its completion. For the Lord said, the Father said, I so loved the world that I gave my only Son. I vaved Him to the cross. Once again, He is saying, you need to know that I love you, that I'm in charge, and if you will listen to me, if you will receive my revelations, we're going to go into places that you can't even begin to imagine. As I lead you into great awakening, great reformation in this hour. I keep on just applauding my friend Dutch Sheets. It's obvious there is one primary thing that is on his heart, if anything else, and that is revival, the harvest, reformation, awakening. And everything that we do is leading towards that. But listen to me, we can't get there unless the Lord leads us there. And He can't lead us there if you're saying, I'm going to do this on my own. We have to be in communication with Him. It's called prayer. We need to have His insights, His revelations, in order to bring this about. And we are seeing right now a very, very maturing ecclesia. And this will happen. It will happen. Dutch, it's going to happen. We're going to witness, and we're already witnessing, revival, awakening, reformation that is going to literally bring forth an awareness of God in our nation that we have never, ever seen before. Now, let me go back to a couple words that we could get lost on in the midst of this passage from Exodus, okay? Let me go back to verse 20. So they took their journey from Succoth and camped at Etham at the edge of the wilderness. Well, I've learned enough from Dutch and from others that, okay, what do these names mean? Is there some significance in these names? Well, Succoth should be really familiar, folks. That's where we are. Succoth means a tent. It means a booth. It literally was the place, let me just read this. It was the site where Jacob put up booths for his cattle and built a house for himself, apparently east of the Jordan near the ford of the torrent Jabbok. It's where he wrestled with God, wrestled with the angel. Succoth, a booth. But it also, according to this passage, is the first stopping place of the Israelites after they left Egypt. Wow. The Lord is actually saying, look, I brought you out of captivity, and I brought you underneath my booth, my tabernacle. And how that ties together with the fact that he will now release upon them a vav from heaven, a cloud or a fire that says, I've got you. I've got you where I need you. Now stay boothed with me. And how appropriate it is, as we have now entered in 5786, that we are in the process close at hand to celebrate the feast of Succoth, the Feast of Tabernacles, the remembrance by the people of Israel and all of us of how the Lord kept his hand on them as they boothed, as they tented, as they tabernacled through their wilderness experience. What a powerful reminder from God of how he's vaving us. But that's not all. The second place, Etham. It literally means with them. God is with them. There at Etham, God is Etham. He's declaring, I'm with you. I'm with you. But interestingly, it also refers to a plowshare. A plowshare. Let me just, if you're not aware of what a plowshare is, I just went to the dictionary because I know what it is, but let's just read it. In agriculture, a plowshare is a component of a plow. It is the cutting or leading edge preceding the mold board, the major blade that is coming behind it. And it closely follows the coulter or the one or more ground-breaking spikes when you're plowing the ground. In other words, there's a spike on the end of the plow. Right behind it is the plowshare, and then there is the blade of the plow. Now, this word of this town or this place where they are staying means I'm with you, but it also means plowshare. And as I prayed about this, the Lord revealed, says, look, I told you I'm going to go ahead of you. I'm going to break up what's ahead of you. I'm going to break up the ground. I'm going to move ahead of you and prepare the soil for the seeding forth of righteousness, of holiness, of harvest. See, you can't have a harvest if you don't break up the ground. You got to break up the ground. You got to prepare it. You got to till it. You got to seed it. And then you call forth the harvest. And God is saying in this very powerful 2 verses, look, I have put a pillar of vav over you, of cloud and fire, but let me make it clear. I am tabernacling with you. I am boothing with you, Succoth, and I am plowing the ground ahead of you and making it ready for what you, my sons and daughters, will decree in the days ahead. Wow. What a powerful, powerful promise. Let's get busy. Let's listen. Let's pay attention. Let's stay in his presence. Let's receive his vav from heaven, his holy glory. And let's move as he moves ahead of us, plowing up the ground for the coming of the great harvest. Amen. I'll be with you again tomorrow.